India Global Mentoring Team has been organizing such sessions for last few months now. And this month, the topic is about the orals, especially on function one. Uh, so we are very thankful to our mentors, Captain Ramji and Captain Saran, who will be moderating this session. At the same time, we are very thankful to our speakers, Captain Chavra, Captain Nair, Captain Joshi, who has been into this industry for more than 4 decades. Captain Chavra has already conducted one master class on Colrex, so he is our one of the presenter today. So as Captain Kiran Joshi and Captain Nair. We have been discussing these topics during our weekly mentoring session. There has been a lot of questions from mentees about the issues that they are facing during the orals, especially in function one. Unfortunately, most of the candidates are failing in function one. Is why we have all decided to have a session and to facilitate this concerns through the right person who is actually taking this orals as external into the system. So they will be the right person to guide the candidates and take these questions and answer them that how this can be made little easier for them when they're appearing for these exams. So we are just taking the basics. We are addressing the basic issue, the fundamental issues which candidates are facing at a very beginning level. Having said that, it is also open to all the deck officers, nautical officers, either master mates or second mate, whoever wants to join, they can join and get benefited from this session. So without wasting much time, I would now invite Captain Ramji and Captain Saran to take over this session as a moderator. And over to you, Captain Ramji.
Well, thank you. And as Captain Jog pointed out, the focus is primarily on cadets and second mates. The topic of the day is development and understanding for F1 orals. And as he also pointed out, we have lined up some eminent speakers, extremely experienced, and I shall be introducing a couple of them. And then I shall hand over to Captain Saran to introduce one more gentleman. Okay. I have a great privilege to introduce Captain Joshi. He joined a parallel batch of mine as direct entry way back in 1979 in SCI. He became a master in 1995, so he's got about 29 years in command. And he worked with SA all through, primarily on Suezmax and VLCCs. He was also a delivery master for SCI for Suezmax and VLCCs. If I remember correctly, he has also taken a lot and lots of oral examinations of second mate candidates. If I remember the number, he mentioned something like over 1,500 students. So he has examined so many students. So it's a great privilege to invite him. He has also done a diploma in disaster management. He has done a course in environmental emergencies, and is quite fond of reading and listening to music. So welcome to the Speakers Forum. Thank you for really helping the students out, Captain Joshi. Now I move on to introducing Captain Iyer. Captain Iyer is even more senior to all of us. He joined Dufferin in 69, that is 1969. He passed out in 1971. He joined ACI. He was a master in 1980. Then he joined Searland 1989. He sailed on the vessels till 99. He is a qualified extra master. He is a fellow of Narottam Moraji Institute of Shipping, and he's got a diploma in management from Nautical Institute, London. He was the company training master at Searland. Then he also implemented the safety management system on all the ships. From year 2000 to 2002, he was faculty at NIPM, Chennai. He taught all the competency courses. Then in October 2001, he was nominated as external examiner, which means he has been an external examiner for nearly 24 years. Okay, for a panel of oral examiners for mates and masters. And in December 2002, he joined Tolani. He was the head of nautical department. Started the 3C deck cadet course in 2003. He was a member of the Nautical School Board Examination Committee, Executive Committee of Indian Maritime University, Then he was on the syllabus committee of DNS syllabus and BSc, MSc, Nautical Science syllabus. He has presented many papers in CMMI, etc. Then lastly, he was principal at Tolani from April 2018. And in 2019, he was awarded the National Award for Outstanding Contribution to Maritime Education and Training. So he retired from Tolani in 2021, and he has been a visiting faculty elsewhere. And he is also continues, as far as I gather, to be an external examiner, okay, for all the oral examination. Some of the candidates might have come across him, and it would be indeed a great privilege and warm welcome to both of you, sir. Now I'll hand over to Captain Saran. He will introduce Captain Chawla. Thank you.
Thank you, Captain Ramji. Regards to Captain Joshi and Captain Krishnamurthy, and warm regards, sir. Pleasure to have you on board. And regarding our third speaker, Captain Yashwant Chadra, doubt anybody has not heard of him. He is an ex-Rajendra 1976-77 batch, got his command in 1980, and has worked a range of roles and activities. Stepped ashore in 1993 as a pilot to start with, and then stepped into training in 1994. Headed TS Chanakya and Volumes Maritime Training Center was headed by him for almost 3 years. It was in Manik, operations with V ships and with BP Singapore. He has training standards with Anglo Eastern for 5 years as a senior manager, and training and development with MSI Shipping Singapore. Experienced chemical and gas tankers. In fact, has recently had a small sailing stint, so is pretty current with the current operations on board most vessels. 2018 to 24 has been done doing a lot of internal auditing, QHSE work, accident investigations, etc. with Anglo Eastern, and mentored a lot of senior content developers as a developer with Marine Pals recently. He's most famous for the cadets and senior officers too, even like me. His books on Colrex are a key to presenting and preparing for your roles. Welcome, Captain Chhabra, and I'm quite sure we all will learn a little lot more in this one. Over to you, Captain Ramji.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Captain Saran. Now I invite Captain Joshi to come in and present his paper. There is a presentation from him. He'll be clarifying your doubts on many things, very generic things we start off with. And one of the basic challenges in preparing for orals is what he'll be addressing. So please come in, Captain Joshi.
Good morning, sir, and all the panel members, as well as Captain Amresh Jha and Captain Yashvir, as well as Captain Yashwant, sir. Very nice opportunity for me to share my views along with the other candidates and the attendants. I will start with my presentation pertaining to the normal difficulties or the topics which we come across while taking the oral examinations, not only pertaining to function 1 or something, but overall. So I will start with my presentation. Sir, are you able to see my presentation?
Not as of now.
Right, so I will exit from the present and then again start it.
Yes, we can see now. Yes, we can see.
Yes.
Right, sir. So I will start with my presentation. Clarity in thoughts achieves safer navigation. There are many times the issues with the safer navigation are people on the bridge, they have certain confusion in how to deal with the situations, and that's how either the compromising situation or there is a close quarter situation or wrong action being taken. So the clarity of thoughts is very important for all the navigating officers as well as the watchkeeping support members. So to develop an understanding for oral exams, for second mate examination, today we have the session which I would elaborate in further slides. How do I improve my oral examination performance and practical knowledge? I've put the photograph of certain fishing vessels now because of recent years, recent months in fact, there have been some cases of collision with the fishing boats which were on the west coast of India as well as some of them on the east coast of India. So we need to have good understanding who's got what responsibility under section 18, rule 18. Simpler steps towards how to equip yourself for exams. This is what I have tried to gather this information since last couple of years when I have started taking the orals, and it has certain issues with the candidates who have internet issues. So that's why candidates should try to have good quality network to ensure smooth conduct of oral examinations. And for those who have some difficulties, the network issues are known, better they go to the nearest MMD to appear physically. That has been encouraged by the various MMD internal examiners also. I've seen that we normally send about the internal examiners of various MMDs send about 19 points to all the candidates who are appearing for the oral examination. And the requirement is that you will have to have two devices. One of them is the primary device has to be a laptop, and the secondary device can be another laptop or the mobile. Now the secondary device is not kept in a proper place, or it is not showing the required profile of the candidates, which wastes a lot of time. There are so many activities being conducted by the internal examiners, and that's why to start with somebody's exam, if that is consuming too much time in setting up the devices, it creates a problem and a bit of irritation, waste of time also. How should be my presentation during the exams? There are clear instructions given regarding what is the dress to be worn, and I suggest that it is matter of just a couple of hours probably during an entire month where we need to present ourselves in the best formal dress code what has been suggested for that particular rank. For the second mates as well as mates, it is expected to wear full sleeve shirt, formal clothes and a tie, which is very easy. I see many of the candidates who do not even put their neck button properly. The tie is not sufficiently tight, and it gives a bit of a poor impression of the candidates. First impression does make a difference. Further, when we start with the examination, understand the questions properly. There are many candidates who just rush to the answer. Even the ROR cards which are being shown or the boy is being shown or some questions have been asked, they try to answer the question without understanding and start with a wrong answer. ROR, there are no mistakes allowed, and a wrong answer. And there are some questions which have only two options. So if the first question is wrong, first answer is wrong, the second option has to be correct, but that cannot be considered as a correct answer. How to prepare for oral exams in a better way? A few steps to improve the performance during the oral examination. Right from the time I did my second mates masters, the oral examination preparation was started right from the time we got down for the examination. Whether it was not only the oral examination, it was right from the time we started preparation for our written examination. So side by side, preparing for the oral exam, things can be much improved, which can give much better performance. Many candidates, they got very few days intimation, that's what they mention. But if one is preparing right from the beginning, along with the returns, that could be very handy. How to prepare? Go through the topics which are already covered in the written exams, because in the function 2 we have so many questions. Function 2 and 3 we have so many questions which are based on the syllabus which is already covered in the returns. So if one is studying that, that could be helpful in preparation of your orals. Apply that knowledge what you have acquired from the theory subjects in practical way, so as the examiner would try to assess your understanding. And many times the examiner may not require the word to word, word by word from the book, but what he is looking for is the understanding of the person, what he has studied and what has he tried to implement. I've seen some of the candidates telling the answers which are unsafe, like how to take water into slop tank. Somebody mentioned to me that he will open the slop tank dome and fill up the water. That's a gross negligence and unsafe situation. So what has been studied in the returns, theory, books should be put in practice also. How do I show detailed understanding of topic being asked? Regarding collision regulations, rules 1 to 19, we had some days back meeting with the DGS under the which was presided by the principal officer himself, which did mention about that the candidates need not know word to word, but to have good understanding of the rules of the under the collision regulations. One has to have good understanding at the beginning level as a cadet, as the apprenticeship training is going on. One has to have very good understanding, thorough understanding. Then only one can address various sections or various other topics which are being taken into consideration for giving the reply. How do I know whether my answers are correct? Right from the beginning of my career on the ships, as well as during the examination days, we used to have groups of candidates sitting together in the evening hours, studying, interacting with each other, cross-questioning each other, where candidates can make out what is going wrong with his answers. While we speak, there are many times there are certain topics are not remembered, not mentioned, and examiner, since he's focusing onto your answers, he is noticing each and every word what you are speaking. So your other good friends, candidates who are appearing for the same examination, who are better than you or who is of good frequency, can point it out to you, where are you missing certain things. Or while speaking, you may be giving, you have something in mind, but which is not coming into your words. So that can be avoided. How do I study for reference materials? Where do I study? There are many candidates who come with certain answers which are mentioned in the notes or from the Google, which may not be correct. That's why when you candidates are on board, you should try to refer to the books which are available. There are plenty of books in the ship's library. Even the institutes where you're doing your preparatory courses, you do have many publications and original books. So visit the library, spend some time there, and you will be able to get the correct answers, correct reference material from that. There have been many cases where the candidates start with the answers which have been studied from notes, and there are very superficial notes, probably to concise or to brief the answers. Somebody might have done that, but that does not give the in-depth knowledge. Now, when we ask certain subsidiary questions to the candidates, they fail to answer that, and that shows that the person has not visited the particular code, particular whatever may be the publication, and that's how the candidates do not fare well. And examiners are taking examination practically every day for days together, and they can make out that whether a person has studied in depth or he has just studied the notes. So I have come across certain candidates who have been giving multiple attempts, and due to the failure, they have chosen certain part-time activities to substantiate their whatever might be the financial needs. But in that case, when you know that there is an examination booked for the next month, take out some time, prepare. I don't say that for those who are longer period waiting for the passing of the exams functions. There have been many of the candidates in the second mid level especially who have been dropping out of their certain functions. They book for all three but appear for only one, where for METS candidate they do not do in many of the situations. They are appearing for whatever is booked. So once you book the examination, appear for them but prepare well for them. There are many cases when we ask the questions to the candidates, they understand something different than what we have been asking. And there have been cases where the clarifications are being asked. Normally, I've seen the candidate who is asking too many clarifications probably doesn't know the answer and is trying to buy some time. Instead, listen to the questions properly, listen to the, understand the situation, what is in that, how to study those cards, how to study those boys is not very difficult. But the thing is that one has to focus and then answer them. If you keep asking the questions repeatedly, the examiner is likely to think that you do not know the answer. I've seen some of the times I show a person regarding not under command, not making way through the water. Next card may be shown a fishing vessel engaged in fishing, or maybe a vessel which is aground. The person starts thinking that there are two red lights and now there are two white lights. So he starts thinking a vessel is not under command and a tanker. How can it be? So please try to focus on to the analyze what is the situation. Don't just break it into 2-3 parts and try to compose the answer. Instead, look at it as a whole picture and then give the answer. So, my dear candidates, as well as the other members who have been listening to me for a while, go to the basics. In case you are appearing for the examination, you want to change the way you want to approach the examination, think practically. There have been many cases the candidates start writing what is the ROR situation on their paper. Do we do that during the time when we are on the bridge? Instead, we focus on to what is the situation. So that's why think practically. Consider you are not in that room. You consider that you are on the bridge of a vessel and start thinking how to take action. Answer logically. Think before you answer, but don't take too much time. And keep good situational awareness. I hope I have tried to give in brief what is required for appearing for the examination. All the best to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Captain. Sincerely appreciate your advice, and I hope the advice was pretty useful, because it was the basic thing which you guys need. You have to keep your head above the shoulders. That, of course, it is a lot easier for me to sit here and say, I myself have panicked. So the issue is always the basics. So my request is you go through the thing again. It is available on YouTube. So yes, that will be extremely useful, please. And just one more thing, we will not be taking any live questions. So kindly do not put up your hand. We have got no intent. We don't have the time for it. We already have collected a lot of questions. We have analyzed a lot of those questions. And bulk of this presentation relies on that. Those questions, those which are given to us in Google Forms. So unfortunately, we won't have the time to take live questions. Our request is not to put up the hands, because we'll not be able to cater to them. We sincerely apologize for that. Now I invite Captain Iyer to come in and present. And as you can see, it is one of the most important topics for you guys. Please make use of the best use of it. Thank you.
You have to unmute, sir, and you have to put it in the slide mode. Okay.
Can you hear me? And give me an opportunity to interact with all the candidates. Yes, as far as the candidate is concerned, many times we find that the candidate comes and says that, I struggle to recall and I'm getting nervous and what do I do?
Your presentation, sir. Your presentation.
Yeah. Before that, I just want to give a brief and then I start the presentation because just okay. So then what happens is, I had two of his friends, he'll ask him questions and then he's supposed to answer 3 or 4 of them. And in the process, this guy started getting confidence and then he started, able to answer better and better. So one suggestion would be that you 3 or 4 of your friends join together. It's not enough if you learn, but somebody asks you a question and you keep answering that. And, that is what gives you a confidence. Okay, let me also come back now to before the question. I just give you a small brief and then I come to all the mistakes. Let's take an example of a candidate that he just comes and, we ask him a question that what is the light of a vessel not at a command? And he just says 2 red lights. Another candidate says 2 all-round red lights in a vertical line where it can best be seen separated a distance of not less than 2 meters. The examiner gets an impression. The first guy knows half-baked answer. The second guy is, thorough with his answer, and that's what impression is created. And many times the candidates fail because of the half-baked answers. Okay. Similarly, as someday I find when you talk about man overboard, the candidate saying, I'll inform everybody. And at the end, he says, I will throw the light board. Again, this guy examiner feels, he's not able to go systematically. Now, let me go to my presentation. This is what I have done is I have just write down what the mistakes are made by the candidates and, I just put it over there. So I'll just run through it. I won't waste much time because I've already wasted quite a bit of time. One second. Okay. How will the information of AIS assist in determining risk of collision? Now, from the AIS, we get information on where the ship is bound. Targets in the blind sector of the radar can be identified on the AIS. This is a very important thing. If your radar is having a blind sector or shadow sector, you may not get on the radar, but you'll get on the AIS. So that's what you're supposed to when you get the AIS information. This answer we don't get from the candidates. Can VHF be used for collision avoidance? Now it's very clear that the circular VHF cannot be used for collision avoidance. It's very, very clear. This is a mistake again some candidates make. Then what is scanty information on the radar? Now, scanty information is getting the radar bearing without checking the error, not identifying the correct target exists even if there is an appreciable change in bearing at close range. They say appreciable range, but why? This comes and seeing that the equipment required for keeping the vessel on course is functioning correctly. What is the day signal for vessel proceeding under sail and also? Now, this is a mistake. 90% of the students make a mistake. Vessel proceeding under sail also being propelled by machinery. They, get a mistake on this that shall carry forward a conical shape. They normally make a mistake with, say, a fishing vessel outlaying it. This is something. And second mistake they make is a vessel propelled by machinery is a power-driven vessel. Again, they say it's a light of a sailing vessel. So this is another mistake the student makes. Because the definition of a sailing vessel is if a propelling machinery is fitted, it is not being used. If it is used, it becomes a power-driven vessel. This is a common mistake made by most of the candidates. Yeah, okay, this is what I find. Now, what is the proof that a vessel which is an overtaking vessel? Now, by date time, what we are interested is a judgment. So if you're in doubt, you assume you're overtaking and act accordingly and keep out of the way. So otherwise, we give all kind of funny answers, So this is what is expected. Then, when a vessel is engaged in fishing, I hope the speed is okay. One sec. Sir, is it okay or can I go slowly?
Please go a bit slowly, sir. Much more slowly. Much more slowly.
Okay. When a vessel is engaged in fishing are not permitted to impede the safe passage of a power-driven vessel. Okay. So, what do? Now, she shall not impede the safe passage of other vessel in a narrow channel, fairway, TSS, or vessel constrained by a draft. Now, this is very, very clearly given. And this is again, a lot of candidates are not able to answer all the 3 together. Okay, that impede the safe passage of the vessel, narrow channel, fairway, TSS, and also vessel. The first, a vessel operating in an area of restricted visibility should the vessel give maneuvering and warning signals. Here again, I find a lot of students. Rule 9, there is no signal, maneuvering signal. Be clear. Okay, maneuvering signal should not be given in restricted visibility because they'll confuse with the fog signal. Now, a vessel is in TSS in restricted visibility. Which all rules must she follow? So, she will have to follow Rule 10. She also has to follow Rule 19. These are both the rules she must follow. Now, a part one vessel is meeting another part one vessel in a head-on situation at a reasonable distance away, is unable to alter course to starboard due to large number of fishing vessels on the starboard side. She makes 90 degrees alteration to port. Is this action justified under Rule 2? Now the answer is, they say yes, but what we are interested is, provided she does in ample time. This is a more important point. Not just yes, provided it is done in ample time. This is what the correct answer is. In restricted visibility, you hear a fog signal for the beam of your vessel for which risk of collision does not exist. What action will you take? Now here, we have said risk of collision does not exist because you already plot on the radar, she is passing clear. But we get the answer, forward the beam, I'll stop engine, go reverse. This is the answer we normally get. The answer is very clear. Monitor her until she is finally passed and clear. This is the correct answer. Because risk of collision does not exist. Now, this again, a lot of students are not able to answer. Every vessel have due regard to the prevailing circumstances and conditions of restricted visibility when complying with the rules of this section 1 of this part. Explain in which way these rules will be interpreted differently in restricted visibility. So here, we are insisting how the various rules will change in good visibility and restricted visibility. Look out, definitely restricted visibility will have additional record than what you have in good visibility. That's the first thing. Safe speed, in restricted visibility, it will be less than what is the safe speed in that prevailing condition in good visibility. Then risk of collision, here you are determining by radar plotting. Then action to avoid collision, Rule 8 will be applicable along with Rule 19. Now, this will be the answer for this particular question. Then in narrow channel, you will follow Rule 9 and Rule 19. And in TSS, you will follow Rule 10 and Rule 19. This is the complete answer which is expected for this question. I'm giving a few seconds for the students to have a look at it. Okay. Should the yellow towing light be placed above or below the stern light? Here again, students make a mistake. It should be placed vertically above the stern light. Again, what is the difference between towing and pushing? Now here, a lot of students make mistake on this. Now in towing, there is a tow line the barge is towed, everybody aware of. But more important thing is the towing vessel will exhibit the towing light. Whereas in pushing, you all must have seen the barge being pushed to the forward end. The tug will not exhibit the towing light. So this is where many students make a mistake on this part. How vessel towing, vessel pushing, what is the basic difference? In pushing, the tug will not show the towing light. You are the OW for part 1 vessel. The vessel is proceeding in restricted visibility. You observe 2 targets on the radar. One target is on the starboard bow. The other is on the starboard quarter. Risk of collision exists for both the targets. What action will you take? So you have one on the port bow, starboard, one on the bows and one on the quarter. Risk of collision exists. Now, as per Rule 19, vessel shall avoid altering course to port for a vessel forward the beam unless the vessel is being overtaken, and shall also avoid altering course toward the vessel which is above the beam, a beam and above the beam also. In this case, I cannot alter course to port for a vessel forward the beam. I cannot alter course to starboard for a vessel on the starboard quarter. In this case, I will stop and take all the way off and change the sound. More important, the last line is important. When he says I take all the way off, change the sound signal from 1 furlong blast to 2 furlong blast and continue monitoring the situation. Where the students make a mistake is they normally say stop engine and they stop at that. But they miss out on changing the fog signal, and they also miss out continue to monitor the situation. In most of the answers, what we find that continue to monitor the situation is missing. Now, this is where many students make a mistake. I'm just keeping for 2 seconds for the students to read. Now, again, which vessel will not exhibit masthead lights? Now, here, what we expect is whether you are aware of various rules. Are you able to understand various rules? Sailing vessel, vessel engaged in fishing, vessel engaged in trawling, it will only exhibit the masthead light if it is more than 15 meters in length. Vessel not under command, pilot vessel. Okay, so this is the vessel which will not exhibit the masthead light. So many a times the students are not able to answer all these 4 vessels. Okay. Your vessel is an anchor in restricted visibility. Another vessel is approaching towards you. How will you attract attention? So, what you do is you give sound 3 blasts in succession. 1 short, 1 long, that is R, dit, to give the warning of opposition and the possibility of collision with the approaching vessel. So many a times, ROR clearly talks about R, dit. Students only talk of bell signal, and many of the students are not aware of this R. That is, R is meant for you find that guy is coming close to you. The fog signal will be at a greater range than the bell. He'll be able to hear it clearly rather than the bell. Now, your vessel is aground in restricted visibility. Another vessel is approaching towards you. how will you attract attention? Now, many a times students think that the bell signal is more than enough. That's not the correct answer. Attracting attention is you're running into danger, uniform. She should sound 3 blasts in succession, 2 short blasts, and 1 prolonged blast. That is, did are you to indicate you're running into danger. This regarding this grounding, majority of the students make mistake on the lights and shapes of a vessel aground. Most of the time, we get the answer 2 red lights and a vertical line and master light. These are showing the anchor light. Then they say 2 balls, an anchor ball, instead of having 3 balls in a vertical line. So vessel aground, I would say more than 50% of the candidates who have failed have made a mistake in the light and shape of the vessel aground. So please pay attention when you study what should be light and what should be the shape of the vessel aground. Again, should a vessel aground of more than 100 meters in length illuminate her decks? Vessel at anchor more than 100 meters required to illuminate the deck. But a vessel aground, no. Is it very clear? No. And many times we get the answer, yes, we should eliminate the decks. So the answer goes wrong. Now, again, the meaning of impeding, not to impede. Many students make a mistake. What is the meaning of not to impede the passage of another vessel? Now, when you say not to impede, such vessel should navigate in such a way as to avoid the development of risk of collision. When you say not to impede, there is a difference between keeping clear and not to impede. Keeping clear is after risk of collision. Not to impede, you don't allow risk of collision to, you move in such a way that the risk of collision does not arise. So this is, again, the students are not very clear about not to impede, because in a lot of these rules, not to impede comes, and this has to be clearly understood when we talk about not to impede. Now, a vessel is coming up. This is also another question the candidates have asked. From my direction, exactly 22.5 degrees above the beam. Is she overtaking or crossing? Now, if you look at the rule, it says basically a crossing situation, because in overtaking, the rule says more than 22.5 degrees above the beam. So exactly 22.5 degrees above the beam is not overtaking. Okay, a lot of students have failed because of this particular answer. The rule clearly says, I repeat, more than 22.5 degrees. So when you say exactly 22.5 degrees, this overtaking rule does not apply. Now, this is also many students have not clearly understood. A CBD vessel is crossing from port to starboard. What action will you take? Now, whenever you're answering this type of question, you are interested in whether you know the various rules. So the first thing is quote the rule 18D. 18D clearly says any vessel other than a vessel not under command, a vessel restricted the ability to maneuver, shall, if circumstances of the case admit, avoid impeding the safe passage of the vessel constrained by a draft. The most important line here is shall, if circumstances of the case admit, avoid impeding. It doesn't say don't impede. In the case of fishing vessels, in the case of sailing vessels, he said do not impede. In this case, he said if the circumstances of the case admit, which means that if I am not able to alter course, the question arises, circumstances of the case. What is the circumstances of the case? Where I am? And he said avoid impeding. He did not say don't impede. So this is the answer. First, the student has to say that the rule clearly says, shall, if circumstances of the case admit, avoid impeding the safe passage of a vessel constrained by a draft. Now the action which you will take will be, of course, in this case, if you say alter to port, your candidate will get failed because some candidates say alter to port. No, you're not allowed to alter to port. You can alter to Prasabhat subject to sufficiency room available. Whenever you talk of alteration, put a word subject to sufficiency room available. This is a very important line. Okay, without this line, you just say, I'll do a port, I do starboard. No, that is not the way, because then we are not very clear whether you have understood whether their zero is sufficient or whichever side you are altering. If there is sufficient zero in not, or all the other things which come in the picture. But when you want to say alter course, you have to say subject to zero available.
Sir, in your screen there is a hide button. Say stop sharing के बगल में hide है. Can you just put that hide? Can you click that hide?
I'll stop sharing.
No. You continue with sharing. Just there is a hide button. Just put hide.
No. Then I'll have to go back to this one.
No, let it be then. Let it be.
Then I'll have to go back to, from presentation to normal.
No. Let it be.
No, if I exceed that time, I can stop anytime.
You please take as much time as you want, because this is excellent. This one, we in fact probably might even request you to redo the initial slides, because you probably went a bit fast out there.
No, I'll just come back once more if they require. There's no problem. Because I was worried about the time, that's all.
No problem. We've got lots of time. We've got 1 hour.
Okay, then I'll just go back to the beginning also if there is a time.
Yeah, we've got 1 hour, 10 minutes more, so no issues.
Okay, no problem. No, others have to also say. Okay, now Rule 18 in TS. What is Rule 18 when it's applied in the error channel? Now this is very clear. What does the rule say? The first line states, except Rule 9, 10, and 13, otherwise require. That's the first line of the rule. So, a pardon vessel shall keep out of all the other listed there. Now, where is these applicable in TS as a narrow channel? Rule 9, a vessel less than 20 meters in length, a sailing vessel, a vessel shall not impede the passage of a vessel which can safely navigate inside a narrow channel. That's the first part of Rule 9. Again, for a fishing vessel, shall not impede the safe passage of a vessel in a narrow channel or fairway. Then again, Rule 10, vessel engaged in fishing, a vessel less than 20 meters in length, or a sailing vessel shall not impede the safe passage of a vessel, pardon vessel, following a traffic lane. So, Rule 18 gives exemption on these conditions. This is what is the answer. When we talk about Rule 18 and TS as a narrow channel, these are the situation, because otherwise he said you keep clear of the fishing vessel, you keep clear of sailing vessel. So here he says exemption is given in this case. Then in a narrow channel, what precaution must be taken by a sailing vessel? She must not impede the safe passage of a pardon vessel. Again, I repeat, traffic lane following that the safe passage of pardon vessel following a traffic lane or navigating in a narrow channel. Again, I want to repeat, following a traffic lane. Will this rule apply if I'm crossing in a TSS? No, because this is only following a traffic lane. This is again, many students are not very clear. When is a fishing vessel not permitted to impede the safe passage of a pardon vessel? She shall not impede the safe passage of other vessels in a narrow channel, fairway, TSS, restricted ability to maneuver, or not under command. These are just a repeat of all the rules. Now here again, if a vessel cannot avoid close quarter situation due to lack of sea room, what action should she take? Well, the simple action is reduce the speed. If necessary, stop engine, reduce the speed. This is the first sensible action. Now, Rule 19, proceeding at safe speed in restricted visibility. Will it be different in congested waters and in open waters? So in Rule 19 says safe speed. So here it is. When you talk about the definition of safe speed, visibility is one of the criteria. So the other things also come into the picture. Traffic density, navigational hazards. Therefore, the safe speed will be different in restricted visibility, in open waters, and in congested waters. This is the correct answer. Many times they say the safe speed is the
मुझे बुला रहे बाप
Yes, sir? Can you repeat, sir?
No, sorry, somebody burst in. Probably they were not muted. We apologize.
Okay. Can I continue?
Yes, please. Sorry about that.
Yeah. You can just tell me when I can continue. So it becomes easier when the students have understood this idea. Because otherwise, I will hurry up. Okay. A not under command vessel is overtaking your vessel. What action will you take? Now, please note, when you get this answer, please quote the rules, what the rule says. Don't blindly say, I will do this, I will do that. No. Rule 18, the first line clearly says, except Rule 9, 10, and 13. Overtaking Rule 13 is there, so Rule 13 is not applicable as Rule 18. He says, except as, that means whatever is given in Rule 18, Rule 13 is, wherever this is, not applicable. That is, Rule 13 overrides this particular rule. That's the first line clearly says. Rule 13 clearly says, notwithstanding anything contained in these rules, far beyond section 1 and 2, any vessel overtaking any other vessel shall keep out of the way of vessel being overtaken. Now, whenever you're answering, please quote Rule 18 and also Rule 13 and mention this. Then only the answer is correct. Don't say yes or no. And the more important thing is, of course, pardon vessel is a stand-on, NUC is give way. Now, the answer does not end here. Many students think the answer ends here. No, answer is not ending here. The answer will end provided, this is the last time which we expect the candidate to take. However, since the overtaking vessel is a NUC, it may not be able to keep out of the way. He is an NUC, and I know that he may not be able to keep up. So I must monitor the situation carefully, and if required, alter away from the vessel. That in other words, if a NUC vessel is overtaking, I can't blindly say, I am stand on, he is overtaking and let him collide. No, that's not my responsibility. I know he's a NUC, he may not be able to keep out of the way, rudder may not be, his steering may not be working, his engine may not be working. That's why he's a NUC. So I'm aware of it. So I'm monitoring it, continuously monitoring it. What is the CPA? What is happening? And the first opportunity when I find there's something going wrong, I have to alter course. The last line is very, very important in the answer because without this, it becomes a half-baked answer. I'm just looking at once more. This is the mistake many candidates make. First, because this is a favorite question of many of the surveyors, and many candidates fail on this particular answers. First, it is not enough to say that you over again all that. First, quote Rule 18, quote Rule 13. Then you say who's stand on, who's give way. But the last line is very, very important. Okay, can I go to the next one, sir? Ramji sir, can I go to the next one?
Yes, please. Okay.
Okay, they have, it's all clear now, no?
I hope so.
Yeah, this is many candidates are failing on this. That's why I want to bring it. Okay. Again, a vessel engaged in towing. The length of the tow from the stern of the towing vessel to after the tow is 195 meters. What shape should it apply? Now, people get confused because I say 195 meters. They say it should be there. The rule is very clear. Less than 200 meters, no shape required. So even if I say 199 meters, no shape required. Then again, some question has come from our candidates. Can I increase speed to avoid collision? Well, if you look at ROR, nowhere it mentions about speed. But what is important is the reason we reduce speed, it gives more time to assess the situation, and in emergency, we can take all the way off the vessel. This will be the answer which you are to give. The reason we reduce speed is it gives more time to assess the situation, and in emergency, I can always take way off the vessel. That's why we reduce speed instead of increasing the speed. Can you go to the next one, sir?
Yes, please. After about 5 seconds. Yes, please. So I hope the candidates got the idea about the speed part of it.
Yeah, this question they've asked. That's why I'm giving this.
Thank you. Maybe the next
Can
one.
you go to the next one?
Yes, please.
Okay, now what my observation is, radar plotting, many candidates make mistakes in radar plotting. I don't know whether radar course is properly covered or not. ARPA vectors, they make mistakes. Something basically wrong with the radar and ARPA course. In olden days, I think in LBS, in our time, a lot of people used to fail in radar observers course. It was very strict. You make one mistake in radar plotting, they used to fail us. I think the seniors will know about it. I don't know now what is happening. When I ask radar plotting, they say I've forgotten radar plotting. The most important thing on the bridge is the radar plotting. In our time, if I didn't know radar plotting, master would have thrown me out of the bridge. ARPA vectors. How do you determine risk of collision with the ARPA vectors? 90% of the students don't know. I think this is something basically wrong with these 2 points. I think this has to be really brushed up, and please prepare, because there is no compromise on radar plotting and ARPA vectors. Again, how do you determine risk of collision with true vector and relative vectors in ARPA? Here also is not properly covered. Because when I look at the radar, what I'm doing today is the radar and the vectors and ARPA. If I can't make out looking at the vector, whether there's a risk of collision, yes or no, there is no point. This is another mistake people make in the radar course. Again, some of the points which this candidates fail is, what are the points will you consider when determining the bead over position on passage planning? Now, here you have to look at the speed, the amount of turning circle, whatever is your, the speed of the vessel, what is the alteration, those are the points you have to consider. Again, one question where a lot of candidates make a mistake is, they're not aware of Indian reporting system because they have been abroad. So please study this merchant shipping notice number 7 of 2010. Because one of the thing is, surveyors become very upset because some of them who themselves have drafted this rule and you're not aware of that, definitely you're asking for trouble. Notice number 7 of 2010, you have to know by heart. Now again, this is another common mistake. Students make vertical separation between the shapes, all lights, all this problem. They say 1.5 meters. ROR talks about not less than or at least. The distance between the light, at least 2 meters. Distance between the shape, at least 1.5 meter. If you say 1.5 meters is the wrong answer, it is at least. This is again by the student's fail. If you want, I can just, I'm sorry that I meant pass because I was not aware of it. If I just, if there's any doubt, I can just quickly get to the first few. Yeah, I just put it for 2-3 seconds for the benefit of the students. Because I'm sorry I've been rushed through because I was not aware of the time.
No issues, sir. You've got a lot of time. Still got an hour.
Okay, can they have a look at it? Another 3-4 few seconds. The AS information, they make mistake. Then scanty information, they make mistake. Can you go to the next one, sir?
Yes, please. My request would be to the candidates to put up a fewer thumbs up because it is kind of distracting for people to read. I really appreciate your appreciation. We are extremely happy that you are appreciating effort put in by Captain Iyer. So our request is just hold on before you start giving the appreciation. Let us finish this presentation, and then of course feel free to appreciate whatever input is being given. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, then again, the second part, sorry. We're going to keep for 2-3 minutes, a few seconds. For the candidates to read. Just for the candidates to read, because I went a bit fast. So candidates, please read this. Then I go to the next one. I'm sorry I went fast initially. Worried about the time.
No problem. If you wish, you can explain it again if you want. That's
Yeah,
all.
again, I'm just going through once again. You can just read it. I'm giving you enough time to read. The vessel under sail, propelled by machinery, is a part of a vessel. Please remember that. And here again, when you answer, don't say cone. Cone, where it can best be seen, the forward part, where it can best be seen, conical shape, downward, not less than 2.6 in diameter, and its base equal to the diameter. When you give this answer like this, the surveyor really feel that you know everything, then you don't have to ask more questions. You just go ahead with that. Yeah, alteration to port, it has to be done in ample time. Okay, you just say no, I'll alter to port. No, it should be done in ample time.
I think from here you were quite normal, sir. So
Yeah, okay. Then I'll just stop this. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Captain.
Yeah,
Sincerely
just one
appreciate.
more point like to make. A lot of students make a mistake on Rule 9 and 10. Sometimes we ask the candidate, vessel is crossing from starboard to port. What is the difference between Rule 9 and 10? See, Rule number 10, the first line clearly said, it does not relieve our obligation under any other rule. This is the thing which student has to answer. Rule 9 does not say about it. Rule 10 talks about it does not relieve the vessel or obligation under any other rule. The first line, that has to be answered. Anyway, thank you very much, sir, for giving me an opportunity. I hope the candidates have at least done something, whatever is there. And I hope there will be more, lesser failures with whatever we have said. Thank you very much, sir.
We should thank you, and I sincerely appreciate, and candidates feel free to appreciate Captain Iyer's contribution and also Captain Joshi's contribution. And as you know, we will be continuing many of these kind of sessions in future as well. We'll be inviting Captain Iyer again, not an issue. I'll take this opportunity now to, I don't know whether Captain Saran is there because he had some glitch in his computer. If yes, then I will take over and request Captain Chabra to step in. And Captain Chabra, as Captain Jha pointed out, needs no introduction. He has also written a couple of books on ROA. So candidates, please do not photocopy and buy, rather buy it on Kindle. It is available on Kindle. Please do that. And Captain Chabra, the floor is yours. Please go forward. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. I will try to if I can get it. Let me go to page 1 and start. Gentlemen, is the screen visible?
Yes, sir, it is visible. Thank you.
Thank you. So there is an advantage and a disadvantage to be at the end. The disadvantage is that I think my time would be short, and if I go longer, then there'll be no time for question answers.
Not a worry.
It could be a bit of repetition, but fortunately it's not much. Both Captain Kiran and Captain Iyer have done a wonderful job. I must mention back that I met Captain Iyer many a times, third mate and second mate way back in SCI on the ship Tulsidas. Am I right, Captain Kiran? Was it Tulsidas? I think so. That was last in 2019. I had gone and done a 2-day training workshop for Indian naval officers. So that was getting a memento from the commanding officer at the ND school in Kochi, which is very, very interesting. Let me get into my presentation. Everybody knows about the rules, but I'd like to still mention is the Convention on the International Regulations for Preventing Collisions at Sea, 1972, became effective from the year I passed out from Rajendra, that was in 1977. So the people teaching us were more used to the old rules, so we were kind of at times studying together. They've been amended many a times, but the last amendments were in 2013. So that's more than 12 years ago, and the last amendments were the 3 rules. Masi! They've been amended many times, and the last 3 were 39 to 41 in 2013. The presentation is about how do we achieve the better understanding and their application in practice. Rule 2 starts by saying in construing and complying with these rules. What does construing mean to you? Many a time this is missed out. We, over the years, have been put to memorize the rules by heart, commit to memory, but the construing element many a times has been missed out. And I am a prime example of this myself when I failed a quiz of Captain Roger Sims as a BTM instructor in Volume Training Center. That was a shock to me. This particular paper, which I have of course circulated in the mentors group, not to the mentees, because a very old photocopy. Captain Roger Sims did a survey which was published in Seaways in 1992, where he established that 80% navigators across the world were confused on the proper application of Rule 19 in restricted visibility. This is way back, published in 1992. The analysis was, is it lack of knowledge? And the answer was no, because he had done the quiz, open book on officers holding a certificate of competency, and the conclusion was poor understanding. Poor understanding, that means construing element was not good enough. Another report published several years later in Seaways after another survey and lot of analysis. This is a screenshot from the report on illegal and ineffective actions, where they did a division by nationality. UK and India are very close to each other with 83 and 84%. Philippines is bad, 96%. Mid East even worst. going up to 100%. This is quite a shocking report, and this was published in 1982. And it said that 74% of reported incidents related to uncertainty, violation, and sometimes total disregard of the rules. Where is the problem with the rules? The first problem is the rules are not very scientific. They're not mathematical. They're full of adjectives. And when we translate them into numbers for application, then there is a variation in the way people interpret those adjectives and turn them into numbers. Then there is abundant use of shall and may within the rules. The meaning should be very clear when we read and try and understand the meaning of the rules. Then the rules have in abundance so many exemptions if the circumstances of the case allow, as far as possible, which makes it even more confusing. I mean, I want it straightforward, do this or don't do this. But when you have all these clauses, it makes the mind go wondering. I mean, am I supposed to do this or am I not supposed to do this? The rules are also broken up basis visibility. That's a key divider among the rules. And the rules keep cross-referring to each other. They override each other, as Captain Iyer has very nicely explained. However, the rules are intertwined and none can be applied alone in isolation. I'm repeating what I did last time, a quick review. The breakup of the rules. I done it last time when we were trying to train in Volume Training Center. My colleague there, Captain Sa, and was the one who initially made this chart. Then we kept refining on it. Now I see it in most of the books. It wasn't there earlier. I started with it and now it's there in most of the books. So it's good to see that. Good things should get circulated. Section 1 applies all the times in any condition of visibility. Section 2 only to vessels in sight of one another, whereas Section 3 is independent. Section 2 and Section 3 do not apply together. You either apply Section 2 or Section 3. So they are like separate and distinct, whereas Section 1 applies all the time. So when you're reading any rule or trying to understand it, please see which part it is in, which section it is in. Then comes how do we read the rules. Many a times I get questions when people say this part of the rule. No, gentlemen, that, or ladies and gentlemen, that's not correct. Within a rule, you only have paragraphs and sub-paragraphs. And when I talk about parts, I will come back here and last time I put this example and I'm just repeating it. Rule 17, for example. It has got shall in it, it has got may in it, it has got, and paragraph C says, in accordance with subparagraph A2, that means if you are taking action under 17A2, then the restriction of 17C will apply, otherwise it shall not apply. So this is an example I used last time and I continued with that. When we apply the rules in practice, we have to also take into account the maneuvering characteristics of the vessels and any navigational restrictions. When I talk of navigation restrictions, as I've explained in the book, it could be weather restrictions, it could be vessels which have problem with parametric rolling or synchronous rolling, and sometimes are unable to act as per the rules because of certain restrictions. Stated or not, the rules generally apply to two vessels. Okay, they always apply to two vessels. The rules don't cover multiple vessels, but they apply when there is a risk of collision, as Captain Iyer also explained. In Rule 19 Delta, there is two interesting words. If so, that means there is a risk of collision. If there's no risk of collision, we just monitor. We don't have to do anything. If they're passing clear and passing at a safe distance and there's no risk of collision, just continue going the way you're going. Don't confuse things by telling answer that I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that. A repetition from Rule 2. Ordinary practice of seamen. Somebody has asked a question. Whether it's in Rule 2 or Rule 8, ordinary practice of seamen, in short, means common sense. Special circumstances to be decided by the team on board. Dangers of navigation does not only include collision but can include grounding, weather, stuff like that. Limitations of the vessels involved, I already explained. Rule 2 gives us the freedom which says may make a departure from these rules necessary to avoid immediate danger. Be mindful of the word may. May does not give you absolute right to do it, but if you exercise may, please be careful that the circumstances justify doing that deviation. As the example given by Captain Iyer, in a head-on situation, you cannot go to starboard, you take a 90-degree alteration to port, perfectly fine, 100% agree, I give the same answer. Please do it in ample time. Don't do a 20-degree alteration. A 90 degrees is perfectly fine. Within 5 minutes, risk of collision is over. Your action is bold, readily apparent to the other vessels what you have done. Don't hesitate. Very, very good example, Captain Iyer. Appreciate it. Now let's look at some of the rules. They want you to research. 8F1 says, by any of these rules is required not to impede. Now you need to first study which all rules use the term not to impede or avoid impeding or shall not impede, and then only 8F will apply. Captain Iyer has well explained, Rule 10 states does not relieve any vessel of her obligation under any other rule. Therefore, in a traffic separation scheme, if there's risk of collision developing, normal rules for avoiding action will apply. Nobody has got any right of way or any privilege in rule number 10 if you are in a TSS or in a traffic lane. Rule 14, interestingly, states the nearly head-on or head-on situation rests on and or both side lights. Quite frequently missed, and or both side lights. But side lights do not cut off exactly at the angle, they overlap, and that overlap is given in the annex. And that brings me to a very important element to tell people, do not forget reading the annexes. When you're talking about sound signals, please read the annex. There are two fantastic paragraphs which explain not only the chart explaining the limits of the sound signals, the ranges of sound signals, but it also explains what kind of reliability you can put on sound signals. They are most unreliable. You cannot be navigating on sound signals alone. Whenever I go to teach NCV or the second mate candidates, sometimes my starting question is, can you please tell me the horizontal sector or starboard side in Rule 15, crossing? And even now, 15 to 20% DNS candidates and maybe almost all NCV candidates cannot give a correct answer. Some have even told me, sir, starboard side extends from ahead to 45 degrees on the starboard side. A large number tell me from right ahead to starboard beam. And surprisingly, some tell me the starboard side is from right ahead to right astern, full 180 degrees. And then we come down to analyzing the rules and saying, okay, we get it by elimination. What is not head on and what is not overtaking is crossing. I'm not an external examiner, but I can assure you, if somebody cannot tell me what is the sector of Rule 15, I will happily not pass that person. Because I may not have examined people for MMD orals, but I have spent a lot of time examining real-time officers and deciding whether they're fit for employment or not. And it used to be a very harsh decision when you tell the company management that I've evaluated this following master and I do not fit, he's going to be employed as a master and he's released. It was not an easy decision. But a certificate of competency to a job, because companies are free to carry out their own assessments and evaluations. And I was part of that. I have not been part of the MMD exams. Captain Iyer has already explained this. I don't have to repeat. So when all this comes into picture, it causes confusion. Are you confused? If you are a beginner, answer is yes. Should we know the rules by memory or not? My personal opinion is yes. You may have an app, you may have a booklet, you may have anything as a quick reference, but advantage of knowing is that you're able to cross-refer faster, you know them better. And it's only 1 to 19 basically, which is, it is part of the syllabus for cadets. Know it and know it by memory. No harm done. Although if I was an examiner, I will make it open book. Please carry your book with you, I have no problems. Lights and shapes. As compared to earlier years, now with AIS and ARPA, we are relying lesser and lesser on lights and shapes. They're not as critical as they were earlier, but they are there and have to be known and understood. Please discuss in groups. This is best done in group discussions, not in isolation. Please use good textbooks. Whichever textbooks, make your own diagrams of lights and shades. Be very careful. Some of these loose cards which are around in the market have errors and are misleading. So I have an example to share from a master's oral examination by an external examiner who was my chief officer earlier. He showed him a head-on card and he said head-on situation, alter to starboard. And he kept shifting the card to starboard till the card was almost 2 points above the beam of the candidate's vessel, and he was still saying head-on, and then of course failed the exam. So when the light shift, the situation changes. For your studies, after you read the rules, studying some investigation reports is a fantastic way to know the rules better. It helps you understand the gravity of the situation and the many rules which are applicable in any scenario, including the use of sound signals in Rule 34, not practice. Nobody questions you why you did not practice, but the moment something goes wrong, they say sound signals for maneuvering were not. Hopeful Captain Kiran and Captain Iyer would agree. Everything starts with lookout. Lookout ends with risk of collision. Next important rule is always determine risk of collision. Rule 7. 5 and 7 are interlinked. There is one, somebody has got a question. I had a comment earlier because they both conclude on risk of collision. If there is risk of collision, we decide what is the applicable situation. Is it head-on? Is it crossing? Is it to be done by Rule 18? And if it is in RV, restricted visibility, then we go by Rule 19. Rule 8 requirements always apply, no matter when we have to take action. And if we are in sight of each other, then the giveaway vessel will also follow rule 16. As Captain Iyer said, I had the same thing. Please answer with reasons and references. References to the rules to explain your answer and your action. Don't forget, limitations of the vessels involved includes ship handling characteristics of vessels, like advance, transfer, and stopping. And a vessel will not get certified by the class if those parameters exceed the minimum required, the maximum required by IMO. Had thoughtfully put one slide out to describe one situation of rule 8F. Give me a moment. This has been frequently asked conflicting rules. And conflicting rules is this screen visible, gentlemen?
Yes, sir.
I will send that report to Captain Amresh. He can circulate and post it in the group. You all can study it. This is a classic accident of a vessel named Skyhope, which is on the left, and a vessel named H as Hyundai Dominion. Good visibility, open sea, in sight of each other. Assuming Skyhope is going 000, Hyundai Dominion was at a bearing of 100 degrees. They saw each other and collided after almost 45 or 50 minutes later. And right across, they had AIS communication, they had VHF communication. Skyhope said Hyundai Dominion is overtaking, so she did not take action. Chief officer on watch. On Hyundai Dominion, correctly they assessed this is crossing. Skyhope is the giveaway vessel and kept telling her, you take action, but Hyundai Dominion took no action. Both the vessels totally failed in understanding and application of Rule 17. Both the chief officers never called the master till they collided. Or I think one of them called the master when they were two cables, 0.2 miles away from each other. No other traffic, no bad weather, no restrictions of sea room, and a collision. I will send the report, and somebody said conflicting. No, the rules are not conflicting. They have very clear-cut areas of demarcation, and some rules also use the word doubt. If you are in doubt, please assume this to be the case and act accordingly. So with this, I will stop. I am not going to go into Rule 8F1 now. And I will stop sharing. I can stop sharing. And I'll hand over back to Captain Jha or Captain Ramji, whoever wants to take over. So I'm skipping the presentation on 8F.
Okay, thank you, Captain. And I think we'll come back to 8F because that's a pretty important thing to cover. What I will do is I will request you to come back again. So before that, I will go back to Captain Joshi because we have distributed some questions we had collected from cadets. So that's also the reason why we won't be entertaining any live questions because we already collected our backroom team, Saira, Amit, Marina Saxena, that's what he calls himself. All of them put in a lot of effort and they have collected a lot of questions through Google Forms and we have distributed it amongst our speakers. So I will call upon Captain Joshi to speak upon those questions, clarify some of those questions if you may. Captain Joshi, are you there?
Yes, sir. Thank you. Thank you, sir. I will proceed with some of the questions which have been shared with us. Seaplane lights, which lights it will exhibit? Someone says all-round red light. Yes, the rule clearly says that it is supposed to be a flashing red wig and the seaplanes should be flashing red light. Next is pertaining to action. If you see right ahead, a special mark buoy. So, of course, special mark buoy means it has certain activity which is requiring you to keep clear of it. So you need to check which side is the safer water and accordingly alter. Next is the range at which a giveaway vessel should take action and at which a stand-on vessel should take action. Action to be taken considering that there are no limitations, or even if there are limitations, one has to take into consideration the performance delay, the weather conditions, the visibility, the maneuverability of the vessel, and in addition, what is the CPA, TCPA actually of the vessel, and what are the expectations of the master, which are given in the master standing orders. So we need to take into consideration all these and take the action. Considering, say, suppose there is a vessel on port bow, 5 nautical miles. I have been asking this question in my orals also. And when would you take action? So in case it was seen around 5 nautical miles, vessel has already done the calculation of CPA, TCPA, CPA considering almost 0, then when would you take action? So first of all, what is the weather condition? If the weather condition is not good, the performance delay is going to be longer. The vessel is going to take longer time to turn. And what was the TCPA, CPA in the master standing orders? One has to allow the time to be given to take a action for the giveaway vessel. If you keep altering prior the giveaway vessel is going to alter, that is going to create confusion in the mind of the giveaway vessel. So one has to allow sufficient time for the giveaway vessel to take action. At the same time, should be closely monitoring and go further with the guidelines what are expected from the master. And master would surely give much more safety margin than what the duty officers are thinking. Similarly, as for the head-on vessel, and the one which is required to give for the stand-on vessel. So stand-on vessel, one has to take into consideration these 3 factors. One of them is the sea room available, weather condition, performance delay, and TCPA, CPA. Further, the sufficient steps have been taken before taking the action is the trial maneuver. So one should take into consideration these topics and take action. There's another case, own power-driven vessel sees other vessel on starboard bow, reciprocal course, CPA 0.5 nautical miles, range less than 2 nautical mile. What action should you take as a own power-driven vessel? Some of these questions I find it difficult to decipher, that how did somebody realize that the vessel is having such and such CPA at 2 miles distance? That means the proper lookout was not being maintained and one has landed into such difficult situation. The action should have been taken in ample time. The rules also say same. The master standing order also say same thing. So one into getting into such situation. I do not understand the exact whether it is the CPA on the which side, but I consider that is passing green to green. In that case, most likely the action is required to improve the CPA. There's nothing much at 2 miles one can do. Instead, it will create a lot of confusion and that may lead into close quarter situation. I think I will hand over to Captain Iyer for further more cases. He can not to make it monotonous. Thank you.
Thank you, Captain. And Captain Iyer, kindly take over, please. Are you there, Captain Iyer?
Captain Iyer, unmute, please.
Didn't notice that, yeah.
So you need to unmute, sir.
Yeah, I've already unmuted. Most of these points have already been discussed. Some points which, from experience, which I want to take, which is like you. Somebody has asked, how do I improve my communication skills and language? Yes, even in orals, I find there are a lot of students who know the answer, but when they express whatever word they say is exactly the opposite of what they try to mean. I don't want to mention from where they are, that's not correct. Of course, with all the language problem which we are having now all over the country, I don't want to talk about it because it's a confusion thing. You see, now in TMI, I did have a lot of students who are weak in English. So what we did, we used to tell the friends that you talk to them in English and you also talk in English. Whatever mistakes you make doesn't matter, and the other guy can correct you. That's one way. Second thing would be read as many books as possible. Because at the end of the day, you see, if your language is poor, the examiner, many a time the candidates are failing because he is not able to express himself properly. You know, even this, even at base level, I find the same problem. He knows the stuff. I know he knows the stuff. But then when I ask him in Hindi, he's able to explain properly. But then when he's answering in English, he's making a mess of it, and the meaning is exactly the opposite. So, you know, this can also be one of the reasons where the students could be failing. So therefore, I suggest that you read as many books as possible, novels in English, so many literature, even the school books. You know, sometimes, you know, what if you improve the English, the children's book also you can read. Idea is to more you read, and again, you talk to your friends in English and tell your friends, correct me whenever I'm making a mistake. I think that would be a very good method of improving the language. Then, of course, actions, the Safe Master Mark 19 and all, I think my colleague has already explained. Range has been explained. Bone part of vessel is already explained. That is, then how do you attract attraction? Our maximum range is already said by all available means. Yes. Yeah, when you're talking about how to attract attention at a maximum range of sound signal appliances to nautical miles, yes. From your side, you give the sound signal, but attracting attention, all available means are available. You can attract attention even on the VHF. Okay, light, flashing light, whatever is possible. It doesn't mean only sound signal. Okay, that is what is very important. Okay, now somebody has asked a very interesting question. Normally, this question I don't think surveys ask. If we ask, I think it's not the way. Differentiate between narrow channel, fairway, and TSS. TSS, everybody knows. I'm not going to define that. Fairway and narrow channel, I went to various publications. The fairway generally refers to an open navigable passage of water or channel dredged and maintained by port authorities. It is a deep water channel marked by pecked lines on the chart for use in large vessels. Channel is a whole bed of a navigable water between the lines of buoys. This is what has been a definition given in some publication. Okay. So when you say channel, they say between the buoys. When you say fairway, it's only talking about a deep water. That is what has been a definition. Okay. Pardon vessel has to take action in a narrow channel. What action is best? Okay. Now, if you say I have to alter course, subject to availability of zero. You know, mention that. In case I alter course, subject to availability of zero. Otherwise, reduction in speed. So every time alteration of course, as mentioned earlier, always say availability of zero. Increase speed, I think I already mentioned that. Again, I think can we then vessel on 5 miles on the port for 4 miles, 3 miles. Now, this particular question, I don't think anybody can ask because vessel on the port for 5 miles, 4 miles, 3 miles, same bearing, shallow patch. If it is coming to that kind of a thing, there's something wrong with the officer. If it is coming on the port bow, as it is coming, you know, closer and closer, what action have you taken? Before 3 miles itself, you should have altered course. Okay, there's a shallow patch on the starboard side. Okay, this part of it, what we expect the answer is, you see, if I look at the ROR, it clearly talks about long range scanning. So what are you supposed to do? You scan about 10 or 12 miles and 13 miles. That is your job as a duty officer. Then you know there is a vessel coming. Then you plan out the vessel is going to be at this place and I'm going to have a problem here. Take action before. ROR, you can go to port. They are all in sight of one another. Before it comes to sight of one another, you only go to port. Nobody stops you. But the most important thing is, as a duty officer, long-range scanning is required. Plan out what it is, depending upon where it is coming. Plan out where you're going to meet, and you know this is going to be the problem. So don't ever say that I come to the problem. Well before that, you should have taken action. This is to be the correct way to look at it. Not that come in the last moment and say that, what do? I'm going to collect. Okay, vessel 3 miles, 4 miles, 3 miles, 2 miles, and then, you know, then you say exactly what action to take. Yes, the last resort, as I said, in this case is because, you know, somebody has made a mistake and you're on the bridge, got 90 degrees or more alteration to port, well clear. That's the last resort. But that is the last resort well before 3 or 4 months, so that there is no collision. 3 points on the board bow, vessel doing shallow patch, vessel not taking action. What action to take? Again, I said, not taking action. Well before itself, you have to plan out what it is. Because as I said, if you are a good duty officer, now this is what I would have expected the answer for the student. I would have looked at the long range scanning. I would have looked at what place we are going to meet. I would have seen what will be the problem. I would have taken action well before. This is what I would have expected the duty officer to say. Not just, it comes over here. The last moment, what do I do? Okay, then not NC and TSS crossing situation. I think I already talked about. Yeah, okay. Yeah, there is one thing about TSS crossing. Now, in TSS crossing for a fishing vessel and sailing vessel is following a traffic lane. Fishing vessel shall not impede the passage of a vessel following a traffic lane. If I'm crossing the traffic lane, I'm not following the traffic lane. So I have to keep clear of the fishing vessel. I have to keep clear of the sailing vessel. So this is quite important here. Then NUC part, I think I'd already covered earlier. Okay, then application of 2 contradicting rules. I think all these contradicting rules Captain Chabra has already explained. 13 and 19 apply. We have already explained that. One vessel is overtaking port. We have a port alteration. Okay, yeah. Now, if a vessel is overtaking from the port and I have to alter to port, well before you are normally planning how your passage is going to be. Okay, now because of some error that you have to alter to port and the guy is on the port side, now we can do nothing. You reduce speed, allow that guy to go ahead and then alter to port. Because at the back of good seamanship, you can't go to port for a vessel which is there on the port side and say, I'm altering course to port. It's not a part of ROR. You can't just make a crossing situation. Reduce speed, wait for the guy to overtake, and then alter to port. I think that would be the sensible answer. Okay, then RE radar in operation, vessel right astern, in this fog signal intensity increasing. Okay, restricted visibility, radar in operation, vessel right astern, fog signal increasing. Okay, if it is right astern, if it is on the port side or starboard side, depending on where it is, your responsibility, the rule always talks about right ahead. Suppose if it is on the starboard quarter, you can go a little to port. So it doesn't clearly tell you what it is, just as long as possible, you try to see, move away from the danger. That's the only thing. Radar is in operation, you come to know which way she is moving. That is what is very important. And then accordingly, after plotting, you will come to know if the risk of collision, which will be the best way, whether to go to port or whether to go to starboard and go well clear of her if he is not taking action and if there is a risk of collision. CBD vessel crossing, this already I talked about it. About the CBD rule 19 and all that. Rule 8, 9 and all that, I think Captain has already, I think, given the answer. Then application of 18 cases already covered. One vessel on the starboard bar, one is overtaken on the starboard quarter, shallow patch on the starboard side. Okay, here again I mentioned when there is after confusion, reduce speed, finished. When you can't take action, when you can't alter course, the only sensible thing is to reduce speed. Okay. Then do the apply while taking action, ordinary practice of seaman is already explained. Ordinary practice of seaman has been explained by Captain Chabra. One part when vessel overtaking, one part on vessel overtaking, one part on vessel coming from the starboard side, from a beam crossing on the starboard side. I think 3 or 4, I think a situation you're giving. Normally for second mate, just for information, we only ask for single vessel. Mates and masters, we ask for 2 or 3 situations. Okay. See, whenever like this multiple vessel confusion is there, sensible thing is reduce speed. This I already talked about 112 degrees above the beam, right ahead. This already I spoken earlier. This 22, difficult to explain, RAM, CBD, NUC, sailing vessel, fishing vessel. I don't know what you are talking about, difficult to explain. When you say difficult to explain, the definition is given exactly what it is, no? what is the restricted ability to maneuver, CBD, NUC. It's all given in the definition. When you say difficult to explain, it's all given in the definition. Crossing, PSS, narrow channel, port to starboard, starboard to port. Yeah, the narrow channel is very clear. Avoid impeding the passage of a vessel which can navigate inside the narrow channel. It's very clearly given, Rule 9. Rule 10 talks about it shall not exempt of any other rule. So if it is starboard to port, yes, of course, the rule applies. Port to starboard also, the rule is applied. Sail speed, we already discussed for Rule 19. Unable to quote while explaining the specific words change the meaning. This you have to be very careful about. I think Captain Chabra also explained maybe that you have to be careful about what you're talking about. 8 is already explained. Impeding is already explained. Sailing vessel on the windward side. See, as far as we are concerned, you're keeping clear of the sailing vessel. Of course, I don't know why you're mentioning sailing vessel on the windward side. Normally, you try and keep away from the sailing vessel, whichever side the sailing vessel is, so that you don't, have a risk of collision.
Can I come in, Captain?
Yeah, go ahead, sir.
Yeah, I think we are about 10 minutes towards closure. So
Yeah, okay.
my request is I would like Captain Chabra to finish off his data. So Captain Chabra, you got about, let's say, I'm willing to give you up to 10 minutes. Of course, I'll be encroaching upon our closure time and will be extending our conversation for another 5 or 10 minutes over the time limit. So I hope that is okay with the cadets. So my request is for Captain Chabra to step in, if you don't mind me saying so, Captain Iyer. Captain Chabra, are you there?
Yes.
I'm there. 1 sec. I'm just getting it.
No problem. Take your time.
Let me go into screen share. Entire screen. And then, so this is repeating the presentation done on 31st Jan in the last one. And part of it Captain Iyer has explained today, but I'll still quickly go over it. And I took 8F because one of the most complex rules to understand. And when I was writing the book, I think I spent maximum time on this, debating how this is to be explained, because at that time we could not find, into 2005 to 2008, when I was doing the first book, we couldn't find much information on how this rule is to be interpreted and explained. And even now, I can't find any court rulings on not to impede. So it was a lot of brainstorming, and a lot of brainstorming took place with Captain Teslin Almeida, who's in Anglo-Western Training Center. A lot of people know Captain Almeida. Captain Iyer would certainly know. He was editor for the Command magazine. So I quoted Rule 8F1, where whichever rules say do not impede. Now for this, when you research, you'll find 8 rules refer to not impeding. 9B, 9C, 9D, 10 India, 10 Juliet, 18 Delta 1, 18 Echo, and 18 F1 on this part B of the rules. Whenever any of these rules are applicable, their application is with reference to Rule 8F. 8F itself was added to the rules much later. It was not in the original rules as published in 1977. When we are applying with 9 and 10, they apply in any condition of visibility, but very logically, when we look at the rules of 18D1, 18 Echo, and 18 F1, then since Rule 18 applies only to vessels in sight of one another, then obviously 8F also applies at that time in sight of one another, although Rule 8F is in section 1 of part B. Captain Iyer explained, and I have something very, very similar. Took a lot of time. In fact, I wrote a paper. It was published in Seaways after a lot of deliberation. That was way back in 2015. It took 3-4 months of correspondence and discussions before the paper got published, because my analysis was people do not understand 8F and it will be good to publish a paper especially on this. It came as a feature article in Seaways. I don't remember which month in 2015. So 8.1 tells the vessel required not to impede, to take action and do not allow ROC or risk of collision to develop. And in my perception, my view, the vessel has got full freedom of action. Little difference of opinion with Captain Iyer. So if I am required not to impede, under 8F1 there is no restriction. I can go port, starboard, turn around, go back. Doesn't matter. Whereas a vessel whose passage is not to be impeded, she does nothing. She probably just keeps a watch. So this is how I have tried to put it across. Do not allow risk of collision to develop. Since risk of collision does not develop, stand on, give way do not become applicable at this stage. If 8F1 fails and risk of collision develops, then subparagraphs 2 and 3 get activated simultaneously and apply to both the vessels. 8F2 to the vessel required not to impede, and 8F3 to the vessel whose passage is not to be impeded. Now, as much as I can put my thoughts on it, since there was nothing like a stand-on, the stand-on doesn't apply in this case, because when you analyze subparagraph 2 and 3, the obligation under 1, subparagraph 1 continues to the vessel which is required not to impede. So not to impede takes precedence over give way. And there's nothing like keep a course speed will never apply with 8F when not to impede gets into picture. However, in case of overtaking, then of course overtaking rule 13 takes precedence. To conclude, if we look at 8F2 and 3, you put it on left and right of the rules. Under 8F2, the vessel required not to impede, her obligation continues. She should keep clear and not impede. But now the rule says she, while taking her action, has to take into account the rules of Part B. And in my view, stand-on does not apply. Now the vessel which is required, or the vessel whose passage is not to be impeded, she is now told take action. She is also told comply with the rules of Part B. Although stand-on does not directly apply, but if risk of collision develops, then I'm fully in agreement with what Captain Iyer said. If you have a vessel crossing on the port side, then please, restrictions of 17C will apply. Please do not go to port. Because now both vessels have to take action, and the one who's required not to impede might decide to alter course to starboard, so you should not go to port. So the principles of the rules of Part B will continue to apply. So this was a little presentation on not to impede. I quickly went over it. Captain Ramji, I hope I didn't exceed the time, and I am going to stop presenting. And open to any questions.
Thank you, Captain. I will just say a few words and then hand over. I don't know whether Captain Jha wants to wrap up, or should I wrap up, Captain Jha?
Some questions of the candidates are not answered, but I guess everything cannot be answered.
Yes,
Unless we.
Pratik will be doing the closer note, sir. Pratik will be doing the closer note.
Okay, thanks. Before I hand over to Pratik, I'll just say a few words. I wanted, something caught my eye in Captain Chabra's presentation, and this is for navigators, this is the bread and butter. Okay. So one of the reasons we conduct this seminars or webinar is mainly for that. This is your bread and butter, which means our request would be not to just go by what has been given to you as a prop-up tool, but also read the rules, understand the rules, try and understand what each word is, because in English language, one of the biggest problems is when it is written, it's extremely precise. one of the consequences of not following these rules is lands up in a collision or whatever be it. Okay, you have an accident. When you have an accident, you immediately have an investigation. After the investigation, it lands up in the courts. The courts only look at what language is there in the rules. They interpret those words in an extremely precise fashion. So making way is different from underway. Not to impede is very different. Is it give way? No. Does it mean it is a stand on? No. They are different. So each of them has got a meaning. So kindly understand, like Captain Chabra highlighted again and again, shall, may, they all have their own meaning. And this is a major issue in English language. It's extremely precise. Okay, unlike what we write in Hindi or in Tamil or whatever it is, in English language, when it is being interpreted by the lawyers, it is extremely precise. Okay, so please request you to read the rules. There is no recourse. Please consult good books. Avoid using notes if you can, that is. Otherwise, please do. And please take whatever value you can from this seminar. I'm extremely grateful to Captain Chabra, Captain Joshi, and Captain Iyer for taking the time, and all our backup team is there. Sahira, then there is Pratik waiting quietly on the sidelines to come in and step in and say a few words. Captain Jha and Amit. Amit is not there today, I guess. And there are many people who have been putting up a lot of effort in the background. We are extremely grateful for that. And we are extremely grateful for all the speakers again. And Captain Saran unfortunately couldn't continue. So he is there. Many thanks to him. So again, now hand over my mic to Pratik Saxena, and he will come in. He also calls himself Mariner Saxena, if you want to know. So he's on the many WhatsApp groups. Please come in, Pratik.
Thank you, sir. Thanks for the kind words, sir. So, as we come to the close of this insightful and engaging webinar, I would like to take a moment to express my deepest gratitude to everyone who made this event a success. First and foremost, a heartfelt thank you to our esteemed speaker, Captain Yashwant Chabra, sir, Captain KK Joshi, sir, and Captain Iyer, sir. Your expertise and dedication and willingness to share valuable insight have been truly inspiring. The knowledge you have imparted today will undoubtedly serve a guiding light for all aspiring nautical officers preparing for Function 1 oral exams. Your word of wisdom and practical advice have provided our participant with a clearer understanding of what to expect and how to excel. A special thank you to our moderators, Captain Yashvi Saran, sir. I'm sorry, but sir is not in the meeting, but hope he'll see this recording on YouTube. Captain Amrish Jha, sir, and Captain Ramji, sir, whose seamless coordination and thoughtful engagement ensured a smooth flow of discussion. Your ability to facilitate meaningful conversation and address key concerns has greatly enhanced the learning experiences for everyone involved. Last thank to our lovely audience and the participant. Thank you for your active participations and enthusiasm throughout the session. Without you, this session could never be successful. Your comment. Lastly, much appreciation goes to the organizing team, Mr. Sood, Mr. Hassan, and of course myself and technical team head by Mr. Amit Jaswal, who worked tirelessly behind the scene to make this event possible. Your efforts has ensured a well-structured and informative session, allowing us to connect, learn, and grow together. So as we conclude, let us take forward the knowledge gained today and apply it with the dedication and confidence. On behalf of Seafarers India and Global Seafarers India mentor-mentee groups, wish all the candidates the very best for their Function 1 oral examinations and future career at sea. Thank you once again, and we look forward to seeing you at future events. Safe sailing calm seas ahead, and best of luck for your exams.
Thank you, Prateek. I think Captain Saran, I can see him.
Am I muted?
Yes, you may say something, sir, because I believe you had some.
Yes, it was great. I'm sorry. I think my video has been creating. It was quite enlightening, and I'm quite sure the youngsters would have a large takeaway from this one. And I must thank all the speakers here. Captain Iyer, Captain Sri, and of course Captain Yashan Chabra and Ramji sir for helping me out when I couldn't come up with my videos and connections. Thanks, Ramji sir.
No issues. Thanks a lot. I would like Captain Jha to say a few words because I had not mentioned something which Captain Jha in his previous life was doing, and that is he was an internal examiner of MMD. So I didn't want to embarrass him by putting him on the speakers panel because I thought it was highly unfair to all the existing internal examiners at MMD because I didn't want them to be a bit upset or whatever it is. But Captain Jha was the internal examiner. He was working at MMD. He was a surveyor there. He'll just say a few words, what he thinks, like what he felt the cadets were missing or whatever it is, so that you get an inside view of what an internal examiner thinks. So you had a view of what external examiner thinks. You will have an view of internal examiner. So if you don't mind, you can share it. If you have reservations, I really appreciate those thoughts. And I'm sorry to have put you right on the hot seat at the last moment. Sorry. Please go ahead.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Actually, our intentions are same. We are conducting this session for our seafarers, especially those cadets, those aspirants who are having trouble passing their exams. We are trying to solve the basic problem. To be honest, as an internal examiner, I don't think they're expecting something else other than what external has already explained. Mostly the external takes the survey examination for second mid level. At least I can tell you most of the questions are asked by the external only. The internal comes at a very last minute. They do of course observe the situations, but only at the recommendation of external examiner they take it forward. If the external examination says fine, he's a good candidate, he can be considered, then of course the internal examination comes up and he may ask few questions. And those questions will be probably on the highlighting point of what external may have said that, okay, fine, this is the question where he needs little bit of clarification, or he was having some doubts, and where external examiner has said that he has already cleared those questions. That questions are not being asked by any internal examination. As far as when I was doing, I have seen that. So, trust me, whatever Captain Iyer has said, whatever Captain Joshi has said, whatever Captain Chabra has said, whatever recommendation was given by Captain Ramji is what you have to follow. There is nothing special you have to do anything for internal exam preparation or questions. So that is all that I have to say. We are just trying to, as I said, we are trying to solve the basic problem, which is, as very rightly mentioned by Captain Chabra, is a bread and butter for any navigator. So once your ROR is through, once your call breaks are through, I think most likely you will not be failing orals just because of call breaks. Because most of the mentees, and I have seen that Captain Ajad during the last seminar, he has very clearly said that the external examiners or internal examiners, they are not very confident, or they are not very, I would say, comfortable passing those candidates who are through with this call break. So this efforts of conducting kind of webinars will continue from Seafarers India Global Mentoring Team. We may have few more seminars, but I must thank you all. And last but not the least, Seller Today for having this online YouTube streaming. So whoever has not been able to watch it now, please refer these sessions in Seller Today YouTube channel. And thank you very much, everyone.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Captain Jha. Just a quick thing. This is the Andar Ki Baat. So you have heard of all the things. So there is nothing which is really screaming going on in this one. I would request Captain Joshi has put up his hand. So I request Captain Joshi to come in and say a few things.
Yes, sir. I just wanted to mention that after viewing the today's session by two external examiners as well as Captain Chabra here. The candidates must have gained sufficient experience, and they must have realized that we are trying to find out what they know instead of, because there are many misconceptions about the oral examinations, and we are really looking at how to analyze that they know practical aspects of ROR and navigation. That's the thing only I wanted to say. Very much.
Thank you very much, everybody. Thanks for the entire team, Captain Jha, for exploring this forum, allowing us to speak here. Captain Saran, it's too bad that he couldn't come in, but it gave me the opportunity to yak away. So thanks a lot for that. Captain Joshi, thanks a lot. Your hundreds and thousands of candidates interview has come in handy, very handy for all the students here today. And of course, Captain Iyer and Captain Chabra. Thanks a lot. Sincerely appreciate, and thanks a lot. Bye-bye, guys.
Thank you so much. See you next time.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Amresh.